Good morning, my dear students. Here we are starting the next section, that is the last section of your syllabus, that is section C, in which we are going to deal with dual nature of matter and radiation. Okay. Now the topic itself says that matter and radiation exists, okay, as two identities. Like sometimes they behave like a wave and sometimes they behave like a particle. So what is this dual nature actually? It is nothing but the nature exhibited as wave as well as particle. Not at once, but matter and radiation sometimes behave like a wave and sometimes they behave like a particle. So we are going to discuss it in details in today's class. Alright. So how do we know whether these matter and radiation exist as two nature exist? Okay. By various phenomena that we see around us and which we have already studied. Okay, like we in the last section we had studied about light exhibiting its wave nature by the phenomena of interference, diffraction, polarization, etc. Okay, so it proves that light is wave. Okay, the nature of light is wave. At the same time, there are certain other phenomena like photoelectric effect, Compton effect. Okay, these phenomena prove that light sometimes behave like particles. Okay, the particle nature of light has been given a term, photon. Okay, so in this class we are going to study about photon. Okay, and we are also going to deal about wave nature of some particles like electrons. Okay, so electrons being a particle, it exhibits its wave nature, and light being a wave again exhibits its particle nature, which we are going to discuss now. So first let's begin with the particle nature of light, okay, which is exhibited by a phenomena called photoelectric effect. Okay, photoelectric effect is a phenomena in which when a radiation of certain frequency is incident on a metal surface which is photosensitive. Photosensitive means which gets influenced by the incidence of light on it. What happens is that current starts flowing in the external circuit, and this effect is called photoelectric effect. So let me read out the definition. It is a phenomenon of emission of electrons from the surface of metals when radiations of suitable frequency fall on them. Okay. Now the emitted electrons which are emitted out of the metal surface are called photoelectrons, and the current so produced is called photoelectric effect. Now let's look at this phenomenon with the help of an experimental setup. The experimental setup looks like this. You have an evacuated glass. Okay. This is the window. There are two plates. It is given the name C and this is given the name A. Okay. Then an external circuit is connected to it. Like this. There should be a key, battery. Battery is a collection of cells. Okay. Then a rheostat, a voltmeter to measure the potential difference between these two plates. It's a rheostat. Okay, and we have a reversing key to reverse the direction of current. Now this reversing key is connected to this one, right? And you have a device to measure the small amount of current flowing to the circuit. It is a microammeter. Micro because the amount of current flowing will be very small. This is the window which allows light to be incident on this AC. Okay, and we have somewhere here the source of light. Okay, and we have a filter which filters the light according to the frequency. It is made of quartz filter. Its function is to filter the frequency. Now, when a light of suitable frequency falls on this plate C, because of the incident radiation, if it is photosensitive for a given frequency, electrons will start emitting out, okay, and from C it will move to the plate A. Now A is always kept at a positive potential with respect to C, so that the flow of electrons is facilitated from C to A. Okay, now this C is a photosensitive plate called, the name of this C is emitter because it emits electrons, and this A is called collector because it collects electrons from C. Alright, voltmeter is to measure the potential difference between A and C, as I told you. Okay, microammeter measures the small amount of photoelectric current that is flowing in the external circuit. Now plate A can be given a desired positive preferably, or sometimes it may be given a negative potential with respect to C, and W is a transparent window which allows the light to pass through it. Okay, now when radiation of suitable frequency obtained by the source fall on plate C, photoelectrons are emitted from C and get accelerated towards plate A if A is at positive potential with respect to C. Okay, now because of the flow of electrons and external current will be flowing in the external circuit, which is given by the reading of the microammeter. Now if you keep the potential of A equal to the potential of C, that is potential of A becomes 0 with respect to C. Now these some electrons cannot move from C to A, that they cannot get accelerated because they have the same potential. So some of the photoelectrons get stuck up between A and C. Okay, now this stuck up charge between A and C constitute a charge called space charge. Okay, now because of this space charge that is stuck up between A and C, there will be a decrease in the flow of photoelectrons, that is decrease in the flow of photo current. Alright, so what happens when the potential of A with respect to C is equal to 0? There will be a decrease in the flow of current, that is photoelectric current will not be maximum at that time. Okay, now as I told you, this incident radiation has to fall on the plate C, which is a photosensitive metal. Now this requires a certain amount of energy so that electrons get knocked out from the surface of the plate. Okay, and the minimum energy required by an electron to just escape from the surface of this photosensitive metal so as to overcome the restraining forces at the surface, that is called the work function of the metal, which is a very important term for you. It is work function, the energy required by an electron to get knocked out from the surface. It is denoted by the letter phi naught. Okay, the unit of this work function, because it deals with electronic atomic particles, energies unit for these subatomic particles, electron volt. Alright, now let's see what happens when we vary the intensity of radiation and study the photoelectric current. Now what happens? You take the source of a given frequency, okay, monochromatic source, let it fall on the plate C. At this distance, the intensity will be fixed, okay, and you study the current here. Now take the source a little away. What happens? If you take the source a little away, the intensity will decrease, okay. Take it further away, intensity will decrease. That is how we can vary the intensity of the incident radiation. So what we do is we study the current, photo current, by varying the intensity, okay, and the graph plotted for the photo current against intensity will be obtained like this, straight line. That means as you increase the intensity, the photo current will also increase. Alright, so we can conclude that photo current is directly proportional to the intensity of incident radiation. Okay, next let's see what happens to the current when you change the potential of plate A with respect to C. Okay, so keep the potential of C fixed and keep on changing the potential of A. Okay, now if you increase the potential gradually with respect to C, it is seen that photoelectric current increases gradually in the beginning. Okay, Now there will come a stage where for a certain positive potential of plate A, so you are increasing the potential of plate A, okay, obviously the current will also increase, but gradually, and there will come a point where for a given potential of A, the current will become maximum, and on further increasing the potential of A, the current will not increase further. That means the current will remain saturated, it does not increase further, okay. Now, this maximum value of photoelectric current is called saturation current. So, if you plot a graph between photocurrent and the potential difference between A and C, what happens is that it increases gradually. I am not coming to this side, I will come to that later. It increases gradually, okay, and it remains saturated throughout. So, this value, this is called saturation current. Okay. Now, let's see what happens when you start decreasing the potential of A with respect to C. So, when the negative potential is applied on plate A, that means you are applying negative potential, means you are decreasing the potential of A with respect to C. Photoelectric current obviously decreases, okay. On further increasing the retarding potential on A, the photoelectric current decreases rapidly and becomes zero at a certain value of negative potential of plate A. So, you keep on decreasing the potential of A with respect to C, what happens? So, we are coming to the negative side of the graph, the current decreases, okay, and for a certain value called V0, okay, the current becomes equal to 0, okay. Now, at this stage, even the fastest photoelectrons with maximum kinetic energy cannot reach plate A. That is why there is no current flowing. So, no matter how and how much energy the electrons are containing, they cannot reach the plate A from C, and there will be no flow of current. Hence, photoelectric current becomes equal to 0. Now, this potential of the plate A with respect to C, that is the minimum negative potential V0 given to the collector plate with respect to the emitter, at which the photoelectron current becomes 0, is called the stopping potential, okay. And here is the point where the kinetic energy also becomes maximum. So, you have max kinetic energy is equal to EV0, that is the current has become 0, that is we have come to the cutoff potential, is equal to half mV max square. So, this equation can be defined in terms of the stopping potential or cutoff potential. Alright. Now, let's move on to a graph showing effective frequency of incident radiation. Okay. On changing the frequency of incident radiation, we plot a graph between the frequency of photoelectric current and potential for different frequencies of light. So here we have, okay, this is potential, of course at A with respect to C, okay. We have for a certain frequency it comes like this, and you go back, find out the stopping potential. This can be written as V01. And this is for a given frequency gamma 1. Okay, gamma is the frequency of incident radiation. Take incident radiation of another frequency, plot the graph, you will get a graph like this. But you will see that the saturation current remains the same. Okay, so this is gamma 2 potential, cutoff potential will be shifted now, V02. Okay, take another radiation of another frequency like this. This is gamma 3. Okay. This is V03. So, after this plotting this graph, you can conclude that first, value of stopping potential is different for radiation of different frequencies. So, what we are actually finding out? The value of stopping potential for different frequencies. Okay. And you can also see that value of stopping potential is more negative for higher incident frequency. Okay. So, here we have assumed that this gamma 3 has got the highest frequency, gamma 2 in middle and gamma 1. Okay. So, you can see that for gamma 3 stopping potential is more negative than for a frequency of the radiation of lower frequency. Next, value of saturation, though it depends on intensity, but from this graph we can see that it is independent of the incident radiation's frequency. Alright. Now next we plot, taking the same data, we take two metals, okay, doing in a similar manner. We take two metals A and B, okay, and we plot stopping potential with respect to frequency for different metals, and we get a graph like this. So here we are changing the metal here, okay. So first we are taking one metal, and in the second case we are taking another metal, and we are comparing the stopping potential for these two metals. Metal A, okay, metal B looks like this, and on this axis we are plotting with respect to frequency, we are plotting V0, stopping potential, okay. Now the intercept of this graph is important, so just take an intercept for metal A, and this is for metal B. Just extend it to draw the intercept on the potential axis, okay. Now from this graph, you can see that for a given photosensitive metal, the stopping potential varies linearly with frequency, this side of the graph, alright. Second, for a given metal, there is a certain minimum frequency called the cutoff or threshold frequency, for which the stopping potential is also equal to 0. So for a given frequency, the stopping potential also becomes equal to 0, okay. Now, thirdly, the intercept, okay, as I was talking about the intercept, on the potential axis is given by, for this one, this is minus phi naught 1 by E, and here this is minus phi naught 2 by, this is for metal 1 and this is for metal 2, okay. Now this minus phi naught 1 by E is equal to, it is nothing but the intercept, it is given by minus h nu naught by E, because phi is equal to h nu, okay. The energy, the threshold frequency is here, okay, and the threshold energy is equal to h nu naught by E. Now, if you take this is nothing but the intercept, okay. So, with the help of intercept, you can easily find out the value of Planck's constant, okay. So, what is Planck's constant equal to? It is equal to H is equal to E into intercept. If you just take the numerical value, okay, E into intercept divided by the threshold frequency, alright. And with the help of this, you can also find out the work function, okay. Work function is equal to E into intercept on the potential axis, alright. Now next we have a relation called Einstein's photoelectric equation, which talks about, which connects energy and frequency of the incident radiation. It is called Einstein's photoelectric equation. Okay, now energy of a photon is given by E is equal to h nu. Okay, this is the equation which gives you the energy of a photon, where h is the Planck's constant and gamma nu is the frequency. Now Einstein, what he assumed that is, one photoelectron is ejected from a metal surface if one photon of suitable light radiation falls on it. Okay, so a particle, that is the particle called photon of light, is incident on a metal surface which will eject out a particle. Okay, the energy of a photon is spent in two ways. Okay, now the photon has got a certain amount of energy. That energy, when it falls on a metal surface, it is spent in two ways. One part is used in liberating electron from the metal surface, that is equal to the work function. So whatever this energy, it is divided into two parts. One part is equal to the work function phi naught. Now here you should know that phi naught is equal to h nu naught, because this is also a form of energy that is given by h into the threshold frequency. Okay, and the other part is utilized in imparting maximum kinetic energy to the emitted photoelectron. So energy is incident. That energy first is utilized in knocking out the electron, and the second part will be used by the electron to move from one plate to the other. That is to impart kinetic energy to the emitted photoelectron. So this is the second part of the given energy of the photon. Now we can rewrite the equation. This E is equal to h nu is equal to phi naught is h nu naught, okay, plus half m v max square. Okay, now with the help of this we can easily find out the value for k max, that is equal to h nu minus h nu naught, taking h common, h nu minus nu naught. So this is Einstein's photoelectric equation. Okay, now this is about the particle nature of light, which was previously considered to be only a wave. Okay, next what we do is we prove that electron also can exhibit its wave nature. Okay, how? There is a setup in which electron is given to a plate crystal made of nickel, okay, and say you have a emitter here and you have a nickel crystal. Okay, now when electron is incident on this one, it gets scattered, okay, which is detected by a detector. Now this detector does the job of finding out the intensity of the scattered electron in all directions. Okay, say it is at a certain angle phi. Okay, now the intensity of the scattered electron is plotted in a graph. That means intensity against the scattering angle phi. Okay, it is seen that there at some point of time you will get a peak. Peak means the intensity becomes maximum. Now when does the intensity becomes maximum? Only when there is interference between two waves. Okay, waves emitted from two different layers of the crystal. Okay, so what we can conclude from this experiment, this is also called a Davison and Gerber experiment, who first proved the wave nature of electron. Alright, now you can see because of this peak in the intensity plot, you can prove that electron also exhibits its wave nature. Okay, now combining these two, de Broglie stated a hypothesis, okay, which was describing the dual nature of matter and radiation. Let me read it out to you. According to de Broglie, a moving material, the material has to move, a moving material particle sometimes acts as a wave and sometimes as a particle. Okay, so a particle is there which is moving. It sometimes behaves like a wave and sometimes it itself behaves like a particle. Or you can also state it in a way that a wave is associated with a moving particle which controls the particle in every respect. So there is a wave associated with a moving particle, and that wave will be controlling the particle in every respect. Okay, now the wave associated with the moving particle is called matter wave or de Broglie wave, whose wavelength is called de Broglie wavelength because it came from de Broglie's hypothesis of dual nature of matter. Okay, the de Broglie wavelength lambda is given by h by p, where p is the momentum of the particle. Okay, or you can say that lambda is equal to h by m into v. Now this talks about the particle nature and this lambda talks about the wave nature. So this equation gives you an account of both the wave nature and particle nature of matter and radiation. Alright, and here m is the mass of the particle and v is the velocity with which the particle is moving. Okay, so this is about dual nature of matter and radiation. Thank you for your attention.